Hi Dhruv, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How about you?
I'm good too, thank you. So can you tell us something about yourself?
Sure. So thanks for giving me this opportunity, sir. My name is Dhruv Saini and I'm based out of Delhi NCR. I have 2 years of work experience as a software tester after I completed my graduation from BTech in Galgotias University in BTech Computer Science.
Mm,
I joined Simply Learn as a fresher in the tech
mhm,
operations department. After that, I got an opportunity to be the part of their mobile team as a software tester. So my
mhm.
primary responsibility over there was to test their Android application, their website, and their APIs as well. So yeah, this was my primary responsibility over there. Mostly it was manual. Automation, sometimes I wrote some test cases, that's it. And it was completely agile. They followed the agile process completely. And
Mhm.
for the past few months, I have been working on my automation skills as well. Like I've done Python, I have done Selenium. Uh, then currently, I'm pursuing APM as well. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Now, what is the difference between Agile and Waterfall?
So Agile is a software development method in which the requirement is constantly changing. Like it Agile basically uses iterative as well as incremental model. So
Mhm,
incremental means as if there are many sprints. If I talk about Scrum is one of the methods used in Agile. So uh, each Scrum is basically is basically the incremental approach. Like there is a one big feature, and that big feature is divided into various phases. So uh, incrementally in each sprint, that particular software will be built, and in the middle of the sprint as well, the requirement can change. Like product team can come and they can say that this is the new requirement, we have to change it. So Agile is flexible enough to accommodate these last minute changes, whereas waterfall model is a model which first, the development and testing only happens, first the requirement comes, analysis happens, the development is done, then the testing is done.
mhm.
So testing only happens once the development is finished. But if there is any requirement change that is supposed to be done, that cannot be accommodated. So this is a big problem in waterfall model, and this is one of the major differences, that requirement change is something that is very difficult to accommodate. Another difference is that testing happens in Agile from the start only. Like the product manager gives me the requirements, I will start my verification from the start only. I'll interview like I'll be a part of the grooming sessions and
Mhm.
put my points as to, is there any gap or not. From the testing perspective, I'll say if there is any thing that needs to be corrected, is there any scenario missing or not, any edge cases missing or not. So by this, through this, we can actually save a lot of time in the future development.
Mhm.
So this is one thing that is in Agile, whereas in waterfall model, testing only happens once the development is done. So the testers involvement is comes very late in the software development process. So yeah, these are the major differences between Agile and waterfall.
Correct, correct. Now, what is the difference between TDD and BDD?
So TDD is test driven development. In this, what happens is that first the tester writes the test before the development starts. Like a requirement comes from the product manager, and before the developer starts his own activity, doing write the code, first the tester writes the test cases according to the requirement documents and everything. Then the developer tries to basically developer tries to basically develop write the code in such a way that the testers, the test cases which the tester has written, those get passed. The focus is on that this is test driven development. Whereas behavior driven development means that looking from end user's perspective as to what the user will do. Like for example, there is a login page, the user will open the URL, and then he will put his login credentials, username and password, and click on login button. So this is kind of like a behavior. The user opens the URL, types the username, enters password, clicks on login button. So this is kind of like a behavior. So when the development happens in this perspective, this is called behavior driven development.
See,
That's it, sir.
See, the difference that you mentioned, see, test driven development is TDD, behavior driven development is BDD. That is fine. The process starts by writing a test case in TDD, right? And the process starts by writing the scenarios in BDD, so that you can add. Test cases are also written in a programming language in TDD, right?
Yes.
In BDD, the scenarios are more readable as they are in simple plain text English language. So those are more readable and those are written with respect to non-technical people who can understand the English and they don't understand coding. So hence they write them in the very plain text English format. Now in TDD, the collaboration is required between the developers. But in BDD, the collaboration is required between all the stakeholders. Now, some of the tools which support TDD that also you can add in your difference. Those are JUnit, TestNG, NUnit. Then some of the tools which support BDD are Cucumber, SpecFlow, right? So those are the tools which support BDD. Then you can also tell about the bugs. So which method is better to have the reduced number of bugs in your software, whether it is TDD, which reduces the likelihood of having bugs in your test, or it is BDD, which is good to have the reduced number of bugs in your software, right? So that also you can tell. So these all differences you will have to cover when they ask you about TDD versus BDD, because in your resume you have mentioned that you are doing test driven development as well as behavioral driven development.
Correct.
TDD as well as
so
BDD.
simple definition won't work. Got it, sir.
Okay. Now, when you are working as an SDET1, so you have mentioned in your resume that you spearheaded manual testing efforts for one of the mobile Android application, website as well as backend system, ensuring meticulous attention to detail. So what did you do during this particular thing?
So, sir, when I joined the mobile team, so I actually new to manual, like completely new to software testing. So I was alone handling the Android application. So that's why I've mentioned that for like initially, like for 1 year, 1 to 1.5 year, I was the only one who was handling the Android application. So all the features like they used to come first we revamped the entire application, the entire UI, many functionalities were also changed. I was part of that. So the QA was completely handled by me. Then we added new features into the application, which was another new code was being added. So I was testing that. So initially for 1 to 1.5 years, I was handling the entire Android application. So sometimes website, my main responsibility was to test the Android application, but sometimes there was collaboration between website team as well. So I sometimes used to test website as well. So yeah, and API also I used to test. I used to run it on Postman and see the results, see the response that it was giving. So that also I used to test. So that's why I've written that in my resume.
Okay. Now let's say if you have to test some Android mobile based application. So which are the high level test scenarios that you will consider while testing them?
High level test scenario. So first of all, sir, the first thing that I used to do is do the smoke testing. Is the build stable enough? If it is crashing or not as soon as that I'm opening. So first thing is crash is the most important thing, if it is happening or not on the application. So this is a high level scenario. Then if I talk about an application which has login application, like it has let me take an example of an application.
Yeah, so mobile, any mobile based application, let's go in a generic manner, right? So which are the test scenarios that you will consider?
So if first of all, if the application is opening or not, then checking if the crash is happening or not as soon as opening on as soon as it is opening. Then if that application has a login functionality, then we'll check if it is like entering the email and password and clicking on login, if it is navigating to the next screen or not. Then checking if the application requires camera access or internal files access. So checking if that is working or not, if we are giving the access, if we are giving the permission to the application to access the camera and the internal files, so if is it happening or not. And yeah, yes, that's the high level scenario, like that's
See, okay, the various factors. First, we will consider the various factors which are relevant for doing the testing of that application, right? So first of all, what is the target audience type, right? Are you targeting some consumers? Are you targeting some enterprise based people? Are you targeting some education people? Like if it's a Beju's app, right? Beju's app is used by students, so it's completely an education application. If it's an Amazon app, so it's totally e-commerce application. So what kind of target audience you are looking for, right? That is the first aspect, first factor. Then second factor is type of application based on the business functionality usages. For example, if it's a gaming or it's a social media, right? Now, looking at these factors, then you will consider the various test scenarios, right? For example, you will validate whether all the required mandatory fields are working as required or not. Then if you hold the mobile in the vertical manner, and then if you change to auto rotate, the UI UX should not get distorted.
Correct.
Right. Then let's say if you were performing some action on that particular mobile application and suddenly a call came, or suddenly the network went away, or some external third-party message notification came, then is the focus lost from what you were doing on the screen, or what happens, right? Then let's say if you had saved some particular information in your mobile application and all of a sudden the phone goes out of the network, or the Wi-Fi with which it was connected goes down, then what happens, right? So a combination of positive as well as negative scenarios. Then you can also validate the application goes into minimize mode whenever there is an incoming phone call, right? In order to validate the same, we need to use a second phone also, right? You will have to call the device in which you are using the mobile application, right? So you will use two phones here. Then you will also validate the device is able to perform the multitasking requirements. For example, if app is also open and simultaneously you are also using some other social media applications, then you can also validate the payment gateway functionalities are working. For example, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, etc. are being supported properly. Then you will validate. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, how the application is behaving in the background, if I put it in background or something like that.
Yeah, you put it in the background. Then for example, if you have entered some particular record by installing that particular mobile application in device A, you have got another phone also, or maybe you have some of your family members' phone. You can take that phone, you can again install that app, and you can log in with your username. Then you can see
any
whether
different specification.
any difference is there, and all the details that you had entered in device A, are those also captured in device B also, or you have to start from scratch? So again, whether data loss is there happening or not, right? So those are the high level things that you can consider while doing mobile testing. What happens if the mobile, let's say there is 1% charging only available in your mobile, you are using that app and all of a sudden the mobile gets off, then what happens? Is it again asking you to log in, or you are directly logged in into that application in the mobile device, right? So those how scenarios you can tell, positive as well as negative in an interview.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now you have mentioned Zephyr scale on Jira as one of the tool that you are familiar with. Now, what is Zephyr scale?
So Zephyr Scale is a test management tool. It is integrated with Jira. So while working in an agile environment, we can use this tool to uh, keep our test cases, store our test cases for usability, and we can even this tool gives us flexibility to maintain our test cases. We can run our test cases. We can record the test cases which we have uploaded. Then we can put it has all the required fields as well, like preconditions, then steps, then test data and everything, and even steps as well. So it is basically, and then you can say I already mentioned, it's a test management tool. Plus the main thing, like what I think is best thing about Zephyr Scale is that we can store them, and anyone can like kind of go visit that particular tool and have a look at the test cases and very well understand them as to what the other tester has written. This it is presented in such a way, and we can even trace that as well. We can trace the test cases uploaded in Zephyr Scale through stories. We can link the stories and test cases, and we can trace them as well. So this is a Zephyr Scale at a high level.
Perfect. Okay. Now, have you maintained the test cases in Zephyr Scale using version? Like, let's say if you had released last month 1.8.1, and in this month you are having release 1.8.2, next month you will be having 1.8.3. So are you going to maintain all those test cases version wise?
Yeah, we can do that to have a track record as to what version was like what test cases were there in the first version and what cases were there in the second version, as you mentioned. What was the version name you mentioned? 1 point?
Any version, 1.x, 2.x, 3.x, like that.
Okay, so
okay,
like
now
for example,
we can maintain.
sorry.
Yeah, please go
Yes,
ahead.
we can maintain a track record of what test cases were there in the previous version, and like keeping track record helps actually.
So how will you maintain those things?
So Zephyr Scale actually gives us this functionality that we can upload those different versions of test cases in different folders. So yeah, through those folders, we can keep a track record of all the versions of the test cases. Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware about test cycles?
Yes. So test cycles is something like we receive a build and we start the test cycle. So we execute all the test cases, and some test cases will pass, some test cases will fail in one cycle. So after we have completed all the executed all the test cases, so one test cycle is completed. Okay, then in that particular test cycle, we can retrieve the results as well as to, like, in that particular test cycle, what were the failed test cases, what were the past test cases, and then we will report all the bugs to developers, and then developers will give another build to us. And after that, in order to verify the functionality again, we'll do a kind of regression testing. We'll create another test cycle of those test cases which are there in the folder, and then we will start the test cycle again. Yeah, that's it. This is the test cycle.
Right. So basically in the test cycle, you will be segregating the test cases as per your modules. For example, payment functionality is there. So that might be one of the test cycle. Payment underscore, for example, you will be writing 1.8.1, then payment underscore 1.8.2. And in all those cycles, you will be having some test cases common. All those test cases, whenever you will be executing, so multiple line items will be generated of their test results. Like in 1.8.1, it got passed. 1.8.2, if it has got passed or failed. So those kind of line items also you can see. That's the advantage of test cycles, and even the folder structure that you were telling, that is there. Okay. Now you have mentioned about Postman. So how do you test an API in Postman?
So like in Postman, we can first create collections as well. Inside those collections, we can create we can maintain the API. So first of all, in the UI, there is a URL section where we will upload our particular API, then we'll select the required method. If it is post, if it is get, put, or delete, then accordingly we will put the required parameters. So for example, there is an API, login API. So it will have some query parameters like login, password, sorry, username, password, then location might also be there, user ID might be there, so various parameters. We'll put those required parameters, and then we'll hit the run button. So Postman in the response payload will give us the response as to what is it that we are expecting from the API, like if the actual result is matching the expected result or not. Plus, we can test how much time it required for the API to respond, how much time it took. If the API failed, what is the status code? If it is an error code, what error code it is? Is it 400 error code or 500 range error code? If it is success, what is the error code? Then we can test headers as well. Yeah, this is what we can do in API.
Right. Okay. Now let me share my screen. Okay. So this is the functionality for which you have to come up with the test scenarios, positive as well as negative. Is the website visible of apollohospitals.com?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. Now this is the functionality. Someone wants to make an appointment, so they will generally enter their name, they will enter city, mobile number. Now you have to tell the positive test scenarios as well as negative test scenarios. How will you test this particular feature on this page?
Okay. For this particular functionality, will you make an appointment, right? Okay. Can I take some time, sir?
Yeah, sure. You can take your time.
I'm actually going on mute for a few seconds. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, so sir, I'll start with the positive ones. So first of all, we'll verify if the user is able to put their name or not. This is the first one. Second is if the user is able to select the location or not. And first of all, the location should be there. Like on what basis is it picking this? Okay, it is
It's
by
a drop
default.
down. Yeah, so
Correct,
any location you can select. For example, if you are from Bangalore, then you can select Bangalore.
Yeah, and I'm talking about how is it taking India? So it's through network location, right?
Yeah, so currently it's on only India-based locations.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, got it. Yeah, so we if the user is able to take the city or not, that's another scenario. Then if the user is able to enter the mobile number or not, and after that we'll click on send OTP and verify if the user is able to receive the OTP or not. Another scenarios can be that, for example, I'll not put my name, then I'll select location and put my mobile number and click on book an appointment. What is going to happen? Is the validation for name there or not? I'll check that. Same with location. I'll put my name but not select the location and select mobile number, book an appointment, and same with mobile number. I'll check the behavior, what is happening in that case. Then after I enter my mobile number and click on send OTP, I'll check if I'm receiving the OTP or not on that particular mobile number. And Yeah. So these are the high level scenarios for this particular feature.
Okay. Now, what if, so you can also add this scenario, what if you enter invalid mobile number? Then you should not
Correct.
receive the OTP. What if you entered the mobile number, the OTP was sent, but your mobile got switched off? When you reboot your mobile, are you again getting the OTP? And if you're again requesting the OTP, is it the same as you got in the first cycle or not? Then another scenario would be, for example, you received two OTPs. First one was correct. After some time, you again tried, you received second OTP. Due to the network issues, you received two OTPs in less duration of time, right? Then which OTP is working for booking an appointment? The previous one or the later one? Later one should be working because it is the active one, right?
Correct.
Then when you enter your name, so those watermarks are displayed. That should be properly displayed, like your name, your mobile number, those are watermarks. That can be also one of the test scenario. Then what if you enter the name, what is the length of that name text box, right, as per that? So boundary value analysis, equivalence partitioning. So whatever things that are mentioned in your resume, you can apply into these kind of answers, right? So testing techniques, those things you can use. Okay, Dhruv, I'm done with the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, sir. So like it was a mock interview, so I need some feedback on this actually.
Right. So see, feedback. Yeah. So feedback is it's a positive one. You have got good communication skills. You have got good presentation skills, and it was a good that you took time to think what kind of test scenarios are required. Because generally, what happens is in an interviews, the candidates they start giving the answers without thinking about what they have to test. So being a tester, that is very important that you analyze the situation. And to analyze the situation, definitely it's human to take some time. So that's a good thing that you took out some time and you came up with good scenarios, right? So that was good. API testing is also good. Then get some knowledge on this Selenium automation programming languages like Java or Python, right? Then definitely you will have good opportunities coming up in your career. Right now you have written SDET 1 or SDET 2, but as of now you are not doing any coding or any development, like creating classes, creating objects for automation, for doing Selenium. So those things you are not doing. So that can be one of the questions that they can ask you in an interview, that you have mentioned SDET, which is software development as well as test. Now are you doing development also? So then they will ask you what programming language you are comfortable with. So such kind of questions you will have to, but else manual testing wise was very good. You are prepared, I think, and if you are looking for a change, then definitely you should try giving real-time interviews.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for helping and giving me guidance.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.